You know what was awesome? Floppy disks. And what was awesome for young me was whenever my dad brought in more floppies, cause you know what that meant? More video games. But there was one floppy I remember very vaguely, mostly due to the fact that I lost it very quickly. It was a floppy containing only one game, and it was simply marked on the label as Colgate. It was one of those promotional games promoting both clean teeth to the kids and products to their parents. You were a tooth, shooting toothpaste at germs and other things invading a mouth. I remember two things about this game that bugged me to this day. One, I remember not figuring out if there are other levels and how to complete one. Two, it was rather difficult as the germs were spawning infinitely and you quickly ran out of paste. My friend recently reminded me about the game and told me that there were indeed levels in that game. And so, my adventure of digging more info about this game began. Colgate was created as a promotional game for Colgate-Palmolive in 1992 by Silver Rock Productions, a game company based in Denmark, which also explains why the game is only in Danish. They later became big with the Hugo game series along with the TV show. The game is called Harald Hardtand Kampen om de rene tænder, which in English means Harald Hardtooth in The Fight of the Clean Teeth. As for me, I'll still call it the Colgate game. Navigate to your game directory, type in Harald and press enter to be immediately greeted by the Colgate logo and a pretty sweet main menu tune, which sadly is also the only tune you'll hear in this game. From here you can start a single player campaign, a 2-player hot seat game, read up on keeping your teeth clean, in Danish of course, or read the game instructions. Also in Danish. Yeah, the whole Danish thing doesn't help, so let's jump straight into the game. You play as Harald, a giant tooth, and your weapon is, you guessed it, Colgate branded toothpaste. It's a very standard platformer. You press space to deplete squirts of toothpaste to obliterate enemies, and use the arrow keys to scale the wooden scaffolding up and down in someone's mouth. Man, some kid is having the worst time of his life. Not only does he have cavity, but someone shoved the wooden scaffolding down his throat. Your goal is to eliminate all of the germs coming out of the cavities, or at least that's what I tried to do as a kid. But I always got quickly overwhelmed as over time germs split, multiply and mutate into harder enemies all the time, not to mention they spawn infinitely. You could stand at the cavity and waste all your paste on those guys and nothing would happen. As a kid I didn't have the time to figure it out as I lost the original floppy. But playing it again now, I figured there must be some key that is an alternative attack or something. I went through the trouble of going through the whole alphabet, all special signs, numbers and even the keypad. Nothing. Out of sheer desperation I decided to go through the function keys, which often are just tied to like help and options. And what do you know? F1. F1. More like FU, game designer. F1 is the least likely key to be pressed by a player whose hands are on the space key and arrow keys. Not to mention, the only key further away is the escape key. But whatever, it gives you a little animation of Harald waving a toothbrush and stops enemies from spawning further. And I think that's the basic tactic on each level. Quickly rush to removed cavities as there are 2-3 on each level. Then just quickly dispatch the rest of the enemies using the radar located at the bottom, and on to the next level you go to do the same thing. Every 4th level though you'll encounter a boss fight where you angrily swipe bosses with a big toothbrush. After that it's more of the same, and that's the biggest problem of this game. Besides the scaffolding changing patterns, the gameplay is pretty much the same throughout the whole game. It gets monotone very quickly throughout 12 levels and 4 boss fights. Throughout the levels you can also find coins that upgrade your toothpaste squirt, replenish health, give you extra lives, or find toothpaste that refills your ammo with a nice little animation. And believe me, you'll need those, especially health. In this game there's no bounce back or whatever, no invulnerability period, nothing. As long as you touch the enemy, your life bar drains. And it drains very quickly. The other thing that makes it harder to avoid enemies is the fact that this screen scrolls only when you're very close to the edge, leaving little room and time for a reaction. You do have a radar, but it's really hard to read if an enemy is coming up. When you die, you thankfully pick up where you left off, but you lose the toothpaste upgrades. You'll go through 12 levels of increasing difficulty, fight 4 weird bosses, with the last one looking like a melted pig from Angry Birds. And for what? Well, you can enter your name in the high score, and that's it. There's really no good reward for finishing this game, it's pretty mediocre, as many sponsored / promotional games are. To be honest, now after going through it, I don't think I've missed much by losing my original floppy as a kid. But at least now I can sleep at night and I can die peacefully, cause I figured out how to play a game I could not beat as a kid. Achievement unlocked, game over. I will go now and brush my teeth or something.